Close your eyes, relax, and enjoy the story The Kingdom of Ice. A year had passed since the night the silent caravanserai had sung its true note. In the north, the kingdom of Oakhaven was no longer a place of stone and library vaults. It was an empire under siege by its own weather. The glaciers from the frost peaks had advanced 3 miles down the valley, swallowing the summer pastures and turning the capital city into a fortress of white ice. The king was dead. The High Chancellor now ruled from a solar where 3 hearths burned day and night, yet the wine still froze in the cups before it could be poured. Jeremy stood on the ridge overlooking the city, wrapped in a heavy coat of camel hide lined with northern wool, a strange hybrid garment that marked him as a creature of 2 worlds. Beside him, Mara was cleaning her fingernails with the point of her curved blade, seemingly indifferent to the sub-zero wind that whipped her braided hair against her face. "They've built the furnaces larger," she noted, pointing with her knife toward the massive black chimneys rising from the citadel. The smoke they produced was thick, oily, and gray, but it rose only a few yards before being beaten down by the heavy, freezing air. "They're burning the archives," Jeremy said, his voice flat. He held a brass spyglass to his eye. "I can see the carts coming from the lower vaults, Corvus's collection, the agricultural ledgers, the histories of the first settlers. They're using them for kindling." "Your old friends must be pleased," Mara said dryly. "There are no friends left there," Jeremy replied, lowering the glass. "Vane has turned the remaining scribes into acoustic pioneers. They aren't looking for historical truth anymore. They're trying to build weapons out of the fragments of the syndical ciphers they found in the border towns." They had traveled back north not out of nostalgia, but out of necessity. The 6 southern outposts were stable, their bronze cylinders aligned to create a massive acoustic net that held the shifting shards in place. But the net was pulling against something in the north, a counterweight that Jeremy had only recently discovered through his study of the remaining maps. There was a 7th polyphon, and it was located directly beneath the king's solar in Oakhaven. "How do we get in?" Mara asked, looking at the city gates, where guards in iron plate armor were checking every merchant wagon for contraband firewood. "The waste chutes," Jeremy said with a small smile. "The same way I left. The librarians are superstitious creatures. They never change the locks on the cellar doors because they believe the ghosts of the dead scholars protect the lower shelves. They waited for nightfall, when the cold became so intense that even the guards on the walls retreated into their wooden sentry boxes, leaving the battlements to the frost. The entry was miserable. The waste chute was lined with a frozen crust of old tallow, spoiled ink, and decayed vellum scraps. They squeezed through the narrow stone opening, dropping into the dark, silent vaults of the 3rd tier. The library was unrecognizable. The grand oak shelves that had once held thousands of volumes were gone, leaving only empty stone niches that looked like open tombs. The air smelled of old ash and charcoal. "It's empty," Jeremy whispered, a pang of genuine sorrow striking his chest. The space where he had spent his youth, the long nights of quiet study, had been gutted to keep a dozen old men warm for an extra winter. Not entirely empty, a voice whispered from the dark. Mara's knife was out before the sound died. But as Jeremy raised his small oil lantern, the light revealed a pathetic figure huddled in the corner of a ruined alcove. It was Master Corvus. The old man was skeletal, his eyes completely gone to cataracts now, his fingers wrapped in rags to protect them from frostbite. He was sitting on a single, massive book, the Codex of the Unseen Territories, or what was left of it. He had been using his own body heat to protect the last few pages from the damp. "Jeremy," the old man cracked, his head tilting like a bird listening for a worm. "Is that the boy's voice, or is the cold making me hear the dead?" "It's me, Master," Jeremy said, kneeling beside him. He placed his warm, leather-gloved hand on the old man's shoulder. Corvus let out a long, shuddering sob that turned to a cough. "They burned them all, Jeremy. Every line, every map. They said the past was dead weight. They said the words didn't have any heat in them." "We know about the 7th cylinder, Master," Jeremy said gently. "Where is the access key?" Corvus clutched the remaining pages of the book to his chest. "Vane has it. He's down there now with the Smiths. They've attached steam boilers to the rings. They think they can force the cylinder to turn by pressure alone, to wring the heat out of the south like water from a wet rag. They don't understand the balance, boy. They're going to break the axle of the world." "Where is the entrance?" Mara asked, her voice uncharacteristically soft as she looked at the old man's ruined hands. "The old well house," Corvus whispered. "Beneath the high altar, but hurry. The boilers have been whistling for 3 hours. The pitch is too high, it's too high.